Hello everybody. As I continue to catalog my decks, I wanted to move on to the newest one, to the Troop, the Everyday Witch. I wanted to give a little sneak peek, my own little opinion, not exactly a full review, just my own 2 cents on it. When this deck first came out, I thought, it was quaint, it was cute, but I really couldn't get past the pointy hats and especially the stripy socks. It just, for some reason, threw me off. I just kept envisioning the Wicked Witch of the West in her little bicycle and her striped socks, her sister under the house, and that song kept playing in my head. But then I saw a video by Peekaboorose. She did an apology video to it, and I watched it and I thought, you know what, actually that deck looks very interesting to me now that I really look at the cards and the pictures. So it fell into my Amazon cart. Curse you, Amazon. But here it is, and I've used it a little bit. I did it for one of the spreads we had to do for Tiger's bookshelf in the book study we're doing, and a couple other times. And it's been a great companion, actually, for me. So I wanted to do my quick little opinion of it. I won't do a full review because clearly a lot of people have already done flip-throughs, but I'll show my favorites, not so favorites, and my little rating that I do. Since I do it to my books, I also ended up doing it to my decks. So hopefully you find it helpful if you're on the fence about this one. The box, in my opinion, is great. I love these hard boxes with the little magnetic flaps. I love them. They're sturdy, they're solid. They're not those flimsy little cheap thin things that some of them are cranking out. And you open it up, it's got the little ribbon to pull it out, a little slot to hold them, and the book. So kudos on the box. I love good solid boxes. The book is also great in my opinion because it's very thorough. For each card you have a color picture. You have a little mantra there, little guidelines here, and then a full explanation, things to consider, even notes, even though I don't write in any of my books. I do appreciate that they've added that space there. And they've got spread suggestions, they've got the history of it. It's just a great book. It's very thorough. Most books have a little black and white picture or none at all. So that was a nice surprise. Great book. And the cards. So the size, I've got my typical standard here. The size is, it is a little bit shorter than an RWS card, but it is also a little wider. So it's more square, and I appreciate that. I like that. I love how it fits in my hand. The texture is not glossy flimsy, it's waxy, and I would say it is slightly less firm than the RWS Pamela Coleman Smith, but I like that. It's not as flimsy as Anna Kay, but it's a good cardstock in my humble opinion. So one thing I did notice in my cards, I don't know if anybody else did, but if you look here, you'll see along the edge here, there's some white where they didn't cut it correctly, and I've noticed that on a couple of the corners. Where it's kind of chipped away. But other than that, I think it's great. So let's look at some of my not so favorites first. And actually, there's surprisingly little. The first one on the Queen of Cups. At first glance, you think, well, this is the Empress. She's pregnant for fertility. I personally didn't like that the Queen of Cups was expecting. The other queens are not, so I'm not sure why. Admittedly, I didn't read the book yet, to see if there was an explanation for that. But I just thought, the Queen of Cups shouldn't be, since the Empress already is here. So that was my thought on that. And then the other one was the Knight of Cups. I love that, you know, he's being almost reckless enough to where he's not seeing that shark in the water. You know, he could be dangerous, but the little hearts just were a little bit too much for me. But other than that, surprisingly, it really, none of the other cards made me kind of cringe or anything. There were two ones that I had to take a double look at. This one, at first glance, when you look at it, to me it looked like Snape from Harry Potter. And this looked like his hair, but on closer inspection you see it's his hood. So, you know, he's a hooded cape character. But when you look at it closer, you can see he is about to slice that thread, the thin thread of what's left on that rope. And there's a door that's starting to open behind. So, you know, I like it after all. And I love Snape. So even though, you know, I at first glance saw that, that's fine, because I love that character. The other one was the Devil card. And I know a lot of other people kind of, you know, cringe at this. However, in my personal opinion, I like this because, you know, deep inside we are kind of childlike and can be fooled by things. And, you know, when I see this devil, I think, no offense to anybody out there, I think of, you know, used car salesmen or, you know, lawyers and those kinds of stereotypical, you know, Hollywood slimy characters. So it kind of fits for me for this devil card. So, you know, I like that. Plus you've got the volcano going off as kind of warning, and the cats here are trying to, you know, hey, wake up. So I actually like this card. Ones that I actually really love, the Ten of Swords. I love this one because that person's running away and she is about to wreak havoc. So yeah, she's not giving up. Next one, Hierophant. Hierophant is usually never my favorite card, but I love this one because this is more of a, you know, a guide, a spiritual leader, showing traditions instead of the, you know, typical Pope. The Hermit, I love this Hermit. I just love how she's just out in nature in the woods on her own, you know, with the animals, and it's peaceful and quiet. Love that. This Tower card is awesome. Look at her expression. I love that. And this Knight of Wands, he is looking for trouble. So I really like that. I was kind of disappointed, you know, that the knights didn't have horses in them, but I understand they're broomsticks, and that's fine. And of course, the Five of Pentacles. I love the Five of Pentacles, and that is a beautiful rendition of it. Now, my deal breaker cards. For every deck, I have deal breaker cards. And the High Priestess is one, and I love this one. I've already reviewed this in the a few High Priestess cards, but this is an excellent modern rendition. Two of Swords is a deal breaker for me, and this one kind of disappointed me. You know, it wasn't the typical cross swords, but I do understand what they're relating here. And it has a crow, so that makes up for it for me. Eight of Swords. I love this Eight of Swords. They did a beautiful job on that. And finally, for me, is the Strength card. It has to have a strong Strength card, where it's, you know, they're not mangling the poor lion, and, you know, the lion isn't some oddly drawn creature. So, love the Strength card. So, on my little grading scale, I wrote those out, and for the guidebook, I give it a 5. Full color, beautiful binding, lovely page texture and information. The box, also a 5. It's awesome. Cardstock, I love it. Absolutely shuffles beautifully. So cardstock and shuffling, I would give them a 5. I absolutely love it. Quality of artwork, because of the edging items that I noticed before and some of the chipping, I would say a 4. And a value, I would give it a 4 because it is mass market. But absolutely love them. And they've been doing well for me. In comparison to the last little peek I did of the Crow Tarot, where I was just totally amazed and in awe of you know, the artwork and what the crows symbolically mean for me. This one, while it may at first look quaint and cute, it actually, you know, it tells you, come on out and let's get down to it. So it's not blunt by any means, but it is definitely, here you go. You know, it tells you. And I really appreciate that. And I'm grateful to Peekaboorose because thanks to her, I gave this a second look, a second shot. And I'm very pleased that I did. I'll put her link in the description. So subscribe to her if you haven't, because I love her sense of humor. But thank you to Peekaboorose. Thank you for Everyday Witch, because I do love this deck. So if you've been sitting on the fence, I hope that it kind of gives you a little more incentive to look closer at it. It's not just a little whimsical stripy sock deck. There's a lot of meat to it. Thank you, and have a great day. Bye-bye.